So the Mets split the doubleheader today against the Brewers, and if you were watching these games, especially if after watching Game 1, you were probably nervous and probably didn't even want to watch the second game. You saw a lot of the same issues that the Mets had over the last 17 in the first one. You had Clay Holmes not being able to go past 5 innings, coming out in the 6th with 1 out in the 6th inning. At 90 pitches, looked like maybe a mistake by Mendoza to take him out of the game. Seems like it was pre-planned, it was always going to happen, but another time a pitcher can't go deep into a game, and then you have Reed Garrett come in and immediately blow the game, give up a grand slam, put it out of reach. The Mets lose 7-2. The offense goes to sleep once again. You have, I saw a stat that in the final 13 at-bats after the big inning by the Brewers, the Mets had 13 at-bats and only 1 base runner in those 13 at-bats. And in those at-bats, they only saw 41 pitches. So bad at-bats late in the game. And it looked like it was going to be more of the same. Honestly, I was not even planning on watching the second game because it was just one of those things where it felt like it was just a losing effort. They couldn't get it together. But I was wrong. And in Game 2, we saw more of the Mets that we saw the first couple months of the season. This looked like a vintage Met win. This looked like when they were 20 games over 500 and looking like maybe the best team in baseball. You had, obviously you didn't have a starting pitcher for this game. Brazaban came out and was the opener and gave you a solid first inning. And then you had Tidwell come in and give you 4 1/3 of solid pitching. Now, obviously, after 3-4 innings, he started wearing down, and you can see that, and then he started giving up some hits and some runs. But he looked really solid for the first 3 innings. And that's been a thing with him, I know one of the times he pitched, I think he got lit up in the first inning, but for the most part, Tidwell looks good and has good stuff for his first couple of innings, and then he starts to struggle, which is why I see him as a bullpen piece down the road. I think he could be a dominant bullpen piece. And I think that's probably what his future is here. Obviously now they have a need for him to eat some innings and be a starting pitcher and be a bulk guy. But I think eventually he could be a really good bullpen piece for this team. And he did well today. He gave up 3 runs in 4 1/3, a couple solo home runs there in the 6th inning. But overall, a really, really nice pitching performance out of him. And also you had a really good performance by the offense today. In the 2nd inning, they get home runs, a grand slam by Nimmo, and then followed immediately by a solo home run by Lindor. And they did keep adding on a little bit throughout the game. Now, were there some issues? Yeah, they scored 7 runs in this game. I was very happy with the way the offense performed, especially, most notably, Francisco Lindor, who moves to the number 2 hole and immediately has a 3-for-4 game. He had a home run, a double, 3 RBIs. He looked like Lindor again, and I think that's because now he has Soto hitting directly behind him. It gives him a little more protection in the lineup, and I think it helps the team. It lengthens the lineup overall. You had Nimmo batting first. I think it really just I think it did something for the lineup, even just maybe a shakeup. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but obviously putting him second in the lineup and then immediately he has one of his best games in months, you can see that it probably did have an effect on him and the offense as a whole. I think one really exciting part about today's performance from the offense is that you were able to hit Mazeroski really hard and knock him out of the game early. This is a guy who's one of the best young pitchers in baseball. Yes, he's early in his career. He only has a few starts under his belt, but he's looked dominant in his first few starts. And the Mets knocked him right out of the game. He came in throwing 102 miles an hour and just looking like he could dominate. And this is the type of pitcher that usually just dominates the Mets. A guy they've never seen before who throws hard. A lot of times the Mets kind of fold in those situations, and they didn't today. It's clear to me that the offense came out with the intent to be aggressive in Game 2. And I don't know if they talked about it in between games or it's something that they're trying to do more moving forward, but they weren't waiting for a specific pitch. It didn't look like they were looking for a specific pitch. They were just seeing the ball and hitting the ball, and I think that's the difference. They were being aggressive in this game, and it looked like a whole new approach from Lindor, Nimmo, even McNeil's kind of always like that, but McNeil as well. Soto got a hit. People were contributing. Different guys were contributing. Still didn't get a lot from the bottom of the order, But overall, the approach looked much better in Game 2, and it looked like more of a sustainable offense, to be honest. It didn't look like they were waiting back and trying to take a walk or trying to push up the pitch count. It looked like they were being aggressive and trying to put the ball in play, and it worked out for them today. And so really happy with the way the offense looked. And also the bullpen. Listen, you had Nunez come in. He was able to give you an inning there. You had Lovelady giving you a really good seventh inning, a guy who's been cut from a couple teams, brought back to the Mets after they cut him, and really good performance in the seventh there. And then Stanek comes in, gives you 2 outs in the 8th, gives up the hit. I don't remember if it was a hit or a walk, one or the other. And then Edwin Diaz comes in and gives you a 4-out dominant, classic Edwin Diaz save. And the Mets looked like a good team again. Now, this is one game in a doubleheader. You can't say they're back. You can't say that all their problems are solved. That's not the case. But this looked more like the Mets we saw early in the season than the Mets team that we saw in the last 17 days. And that's exciting to me. Baseball, I've said it in my last 2, 3, 4 maybe videos, it can all turn on a dime. And it's very possible that a game like today really sets a different course for this team and moves them forward. Now, if they go out and lose tomorrow and look like the same old Mets from the last month, then it's all for nothing. But if they can build on this and improve on it, go out there and win tomorrow, go into the Yankee series with a little bit of momentum to play against a Yankee team who I know tied the game in the 8th inning or 7th inning there. I don't know what's going to happen in that game, but a Yankee team that is also not playing very well. It would be nice momentum going into that series, heading towards the All-Star break. Just turn your season around, because right now you're being counted out. You don't look like a good team. They don't look like a good team at all. And if they can win tomorrow and show some improvement, then it's a different conversation, right? If you take 2 out of 3 in this series, and then say you go and take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, you're feeling better about how your season's going. So overall, listen, they're not back. This isn't me saying that they're now a good team all of a sudden, but they showed a lot of improvement, especially in Game 2. Obviously, this is the first time I've seen the Mets play good baseball in a while, and it's exciting. And I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but it was the first time I enjoyed watching the Mets game in a long time. So happy about this win. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe, give me a like, comment whatever you want, and that's really all I got. So until next time, let's go Mets.